In 1992, archaeological excavations beginning in the Aomori Prefecture uncovered the remains of a large Jomon period settlement, the Sannai Maruyama ruins. The discovery of the Sannai Maruyama ruins led to more huge discoveries that reversed our idea of the Jomon period up to that point. Hi, welcome, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the Sannai Maruyama ruins. The Sannai Maruyama ruins. This is a site from the Jomon period in the Aomori Prefecture. There is an incredible amount of ruins from the Jomon period in Japan, but the only Jomon site covered in school classes and exams is the Sannai Maruyama ruins. And I am often asked, why the Sannai Maruyama ruins? Why exactly is it only the Sannai Maruyama ruins? Is something I hear a lot. So, without further ado, let's talk about the Sannai Maruyama ruins. Aomori City in Aomori Prefecture. Relics have always been discovered around this area. In Aomori, after the Showa era began, construction commenced on the Tohoku Expressway. Because of this, many excavations were carried out. So, many Jomon period artifacts were discovered. However, at the time, it was believed that the Jomon ruins still there were not too different from ordinary ruins. However, at that moment came a huge turning point. It was decided that the Aomori Prefectural Sports Park would be expanded. In this sports park was a baseball field managed by the Aomori Prefecture. The Aomori Prefecture decided to rebuild this baseball field in a new location. They planned to build this new baseball field northwest, not too far from the original field. So, preliminary excavations were carried out for the construction of the baseball field. But, what was found there were huge Jomon period ruins. These were the Sannai Maruyama ruins. Ruins there were expected, but these ruins were much larger than anticipated. The size of the ruins is still yet to be determined. The Sannai Maruyama ruins are still being excavated and expanded to this day. However, construction on the baseball field had already started, and some of the baseball stands had already been built. Since construction had already started, they were going to proceed. But here, they made a startling discovery. They found the remains of 6 huge pillars. Judging from the size of the holes, the pillars were pretty large. From a global perspective, this was unusual. Because of this, Aomori Prefecture drew up a plan to preserve the ruins, cancelled construction of the baseball field, and begun maintenance on the ruins. This is how the Sannai Maruyama ruins became open to the public. After that, the ruins gradually became famous. In July 2021, it was registered as a UNESCO World Heritage Site as part of the Jomon prehistoric sites in Hokkaido and Tohoku. However, so far, it is a pretty common story that since the ruins were found, construction was stopped and the ruins were preserved. This would be a weak answer as to why the Sannai Maruyama ruins became famous. The answer is frank, because it completely changed our view of the Jomon period. Until then, most people thought that in the Jomon period, the Jomon people lived simple lives in small numbers and traveled in search of food. However, found within the Sannai Maruyama ruins were the remains of a building with dug pillars. Since the building is so big, it is thought to have been an apartment complex or meeting hall. No matter how you look at it, it's clear that Jomon people lived in large numbers. But what's even more amazing is the ruins of the aforementioned 6 pillars. If this civilization lived nomadic lives, they probably wouldn't go out of their way to build such a large building. In other words, judging from the ruins, the idea that Jomon people lived in large numbers and had excellent technology began to emerge. In this sense, the Sannai Maruyama site has unique characteristics. It could potentially upend the perception of the Jomon period. So it's a very important site. Therefore, the Sannai Maruyama ruins are discussed in school classes and exams. From the Sannai Maruyama ruins, remains of pit dwellings and dug pillar buildings, banks, graves for both adults and children. Lots of stone tools and earthenware were excavated, as well. Especially famous are the large plate-shaped clay figurines. The one found at the Sannai Maruyama ruins is known as one of the largest in Japan. Also, jade and obsidian were found. The fact that artifacts like these were found shows interaction with other regions. This is because jade was produced in the Himakawa Basin in Hokkaido, and obsidian was brought from places like Hokkaido, Akita, Yamagata, Niigata, and Nagano. Since stones don't move on their own, this means trade had to have been carried out by human hands. In addition to these, many other artifacts have been found, and can be viewed in the exhibition rooms in the ruins, so if you are interested, definitely give it a visit.